John chapter 19, verses 25 to 27 says this, family. Standing near the cross were Jesus' mother and his mother's sister Mary and Mary Magdalene. When Jesus saw his mother standing there beside the disciple he loved, he said to her, "Dear woman, here is your son." And he said to this disciple, "Here is your mother." And from then on, this disciple took her into his home. Family, theologian Charles Spurgeon describes this saying as a word of provision. Provision, by definition, is number one, the act or process of providing for. And then number two, a measure taken beforehand to deal with a need or contingency. So family, let's extract two principles concerning provision from this saying. Principle number one, provision is provided as a form of protection. Most biblical scholars agree that Christ calls her not mother, but woman, not out of a disrespect to her or ashamed of her, but partly that he might not raise or add strength to her sorrow, protecting her emotionally. And secondly, partly to conceal her from the mob and not be exposed to their rude insults, protecting her physically. So how does this apply to us? Family, if Jesus could provide for the needs of his own in a moment of his deepest weakness and humiliation, how much more can he provide for our needs in his present power and exaltation? You see, Paul prayed this in Ephesians chapter 1, verses 18 to 20. He says, "I pray that your hearts will be flooded with light so that you can understand the confident hope he has given to those he called, his holy people who are his rich and glorious inheritance." Paul continues, "I also pray that you will understand this incredible greatness of God's power for us who believe in him. This is the same power that raised Christ from the dead and seated him in the place of honor at God's right hand in the heavenly realms." So principle number one, provision is provided as a form of protection. Principle number two, provision is provided in the form of community. Standing by the cross next to Jesus's mother, Mary, were four women who had followed him. Jesus also saw the disciple in which he loved, John, the son of Zebedee, the author of the gospel. And he told his mother that John was now her son, and he told John that Mary was now his mother. Notice that contrary to custom and expectation, Jesus did not admonish his own brothers to take care of their mother. Biblical scholars say that there existed a rift in Jesus' family prior to his death and resurrection because his brothers at that time did not believe he was the Christ until after the resurrection. So, whatever the reason for not putting Mary in the care of her other sons, the new relationship between Mary and John illustrates for us that provision is made in the body of Christ. Family, the purpose of community is knowing and experiencing Christ by making a commitment to build healthy relationships through caring for, praying for, and fellowshipping with other believers. So, don't allow social distancing to be an excuse to distance yourself from community. Phone calls, video calls aren't long-term substitutes for physical presence, but they can be a lifeline in the midst of this quarantine. What are the two principles? Provision is provided as a form of protection. Secondly, provision is provided in the form of community.